Hi, I'm Dr. Mark Smith. Now, we all know that we need to exercise to improve our health, and in particular, to burn the fat and improve our cardiovascular system. Now, whenever we think about exercise, I guarantee most of you are thinking, I need to go and get on a treadmill or a bike, or go outside, walk, jog, and go for 20 minutes, maybe as long as 60 minutes, at what we call a low to moderate intensity. Now, we've had that shoved down our throats for a long time. And I think if we look around, we might get an indication it's not working very well. So, what I'm here to do now is give you an overall little summary, short and sweet, that we can all learn and share with our family, our friends, our clients, our patients, because this is important. Because we have an epidemic going on right now. We need to improve the health of the nation. And one of the problems is this message of the low to moderate continuous exercise is wrong. It's dead wrong. And it's sprint interval training is what we need to be doing. Sprint interval training. What's that? Well, sprinting. I think we all can relate to the fact you're going to be going very vigorously. When anyone goes vigorously, any human on the planet, you've got about 60 seconds before you're going to basically get fatigued and have to stop, slow down, and catch your breath. Then you're going to need to recover to be able to do it again. Well, I would say most of you will need at least a minimum of 4 minutes, maybe a little longer, but you could take as much as an hour break. And then you're going to do it again. So we've got intervals. So that's what we've got, sprint interval training. And I'm going to give you a short summary of why that is the most effective way to get healthy, to burn the fat, and to have a healthy cardiovascular system. I'm going to give you 4 main reasons why that's the case. And if you learn these, you can pretty much help society by spreading this message. So the first thing to think about is if we go back to very primitive times, when we were hunter-gatherers, we didn't put our Nike shoes on and go jogging around to catch the animals we needed to feed ourselves. All right? We would meander and we'd walk, and I'm always going to encourage people to improve their caloric expenditure and go for walks, get outside. That's fantastic. But throughout the day, in primitive times, we would have vigorous bouts of activity, whether we're chasing down an animal for food or we're climbing trees, but perhaps more importantly, we're running away not to become food for another predator. All right? You're not going to jog out of the way to climb to the tree. You better hope you can get to that tree in about 60 seconds, otherwise you're out of the gene pool. All right, so that's one common sense for us, is the fact that in primitive times, we were sprinters. All right? Now, that leads in actually to modern day. In our modern day lifestyles, I'll challenge any of you, if you can find a need or a reason to go and do this long, slow, continuous exercise for 20 to 30 minutes. None of you have that need. You might choose to do it in your recreational activities. That's not what I'm saying. A need to do it. You don't. But I guarantee you one thing. You might have a grandchild that suddenly gets out of your vision and starts running across a field towards a main road. You're not going to jog after them. You're going to sprint, and you're not going to give a damn about whether your health is ready to do that. So how about training to be able to do that? And sprint interval training will give you that ability. All right, so that's one thing. But just in general, you might also go to the airlines changing planes. So you come into Phoenix, I've often done that one, and I've got to go from all the way on the B concourse all the way to the A. And if I've got 15 minutes, I'm not walking. And I've usually got 2 heavy bags and I'm going. And I see it all the time. So in our daily lives, we have this need to do sprint interval training. So even though primitive times you go, well, I'm not there, it also fits into modern day life. So that's our second point. My third point, and this usually hits home with a lot of people, we know that athletes in the sporting world are great examples of healthy, fit individuals. So let's start thinking about, and I often do this in my seminars, I say, name me a sport. And you can start doing that now. We could think of football, whether it's English football, soccer, or American football, basketball, tennis, golf, track and field. You start going through all these different sports. All these sports are what we call interval-based, sprint interval training. There are very few sports that actually require this low to moderate continuous exercise. And even those athletes, guess what? They do as much as 50 to 75% of their training as sprint interval training. But coming back to the sprint athletes, the basketball, the golfers, the tennis players, the footballers, all those sports go hard, recover, going slowly, go hard again. They're very fit. Well, in early days, we got fit simply by playing the sport. Okay? So, there's another example. So we might ask, well, why do we have all of this low to moderate? That comes down to research. And I sometimes can't tell you exactly why research goes in a certain direction. I'm told in the media industry that the beta tapes were better than the VHS tapes, that the marketing battle won for the VHS tapes, and that's what became the norm. And that's what's happened over the last 30 years. We started only doing this slow, continuous exercise, which is strange, because if we look at the research, even as early as the 1960s, they were doing studies comparing sprint interval training to the long, slow, continuous training. And guess what? The sprint interval training won hands down. The best thing now, though, is there's a ton of research. Back then, there was only a small amount. Now there's loads. And every time they compare it for fat loss or for cardiovascular conditioning, the sprint interval training wins hands down, not by a little bit, but by a long way. And of course, the greatest thing, it requires a lot less time. The main reason why most people aren't committing to an exercise program in the first place. So it's imperative we start to understand and get a handle on the fact that you can get more effective results, lose more fat, get cardiovascularly fit if you do sprint interval training. Now, the research is unequivocal. So those that want to really get into the research, go to our website, X-iser.com, and download my paper called Sprint Interval Training. It covers every question that you will have if you're one of those individuals that likes to get to the research. But hopefully most of you, what I've said so far, just makes sense. I'm a living example. I train about 20 minutes per week, and I've got hundreds, even thousands of people across this nation doing exactly the same thing. Now, most of you have got that and go, fantastic. But there's going to be some skeptics out there that still want to know why. I don't quite get this because you've been so indoctrinated. You're on this calorie burning model that you've just got to burn a lot of calories. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take a little break and we're going to come back for those skeptics out there and explain to you in detail why sprint interval training is more effective for fat loss and for improving the cardiovascular system. The rest of you, go forth and sprint.